Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here today with Durthu. We're going to be taking a look at this new tree army with the Firebark Elders here. Going to be fighting against Norsca with some early access action. So let's go ahead and jump to the army compositions. For myself, of course, I've got Durthu as my general here. He's got Blessing of the Ancients, so that if we go into a forest, he'll have more power recharge rate. We've also got the Flock of Doom and Sword of Daith. Sword of Daith is particularly good because the tree units tend not to have the greatest armor piercing values, and that minus 30 armor is particularly useful for that. We've also got another Treeman, a couple of Dryads in the front line, and 2 units of Treekin, one of which is these Firebark Elders. So these guys are, of course, Regiment of Renown Treekin. They have flaming magic damage, and they also have this 25% flame resistance aura, which you can see is hitting all the units in that pocket, negating their weakness to fire. So the 25% weakness to fire and 25% fire resistance cancel each other out. For the rest of the army, we've got some Eternal Guards to each flank, and then the Regiment of Renown Eternal Guard to the rear. These guys are unbreakable, so they will never out. That's pretty much it. We've got a a Branch Wraith for some healing, and a Penumbral Pendulum, and a couple units of Sisters of Thorn currently going in on an Alpha Strike on some Norscan Ice Wolves here. He's also got some Norscan Ice Wolf Chariots. 2 of them, some more Ice Wolves over here, and some Beasts of Tashnar, the Regiment of Renown Hounds. These guys have a bonus versus large. Through the center, we've got Marauders and a couple of Berserkers. Famir Balefiend, Lord of Fire, very good choice. 1 unit of Famir Warriors. He's also got this Frostworm here, which is an interesting pick, and Wulfrik the Wanderer on a Chariot. So let's go ahead and kick the battle into full gear without further ado. And one thing to note about the Frostworm is it has magic and frostbite. So it's going to come in here and immediately apply the frostbite. I actually thought these were both Sisters of Thorn. It looks like this other one is the Regiment of Renowned Wild Riders, the Hunters of Kurnus. These guys have the Guardian trait, but currently they're getting hit by the frostbite. And the Frostworm also has a chilling aura, so it is a massive speed debuff if you actually get caught by this thing. You can see these Wild Riders are down to 9 speed, so they're just not able to get away whatsoever. Sisters of Thorn are able to escape there, but these Wild Hunters of Kurnus, 1,500 point unit, very expensive, gone right off the bat. And you can see the main line engagement underway. Famir being the line breakers, charging in first, and the Berserkers are going to be following up. Of course, Durthu and the tree units with their lack of AP won't be the biggest issue against the Berserkers, since obviously they don't have much armor. So yeah, Treemen, Treekin, and Dryads. Dryads will get shredded by the Berserkers. A little bit late on the follow-up with the Treekin, but we are going to get things rolling there. It looks like Flaming Sword of Ruin is going down on this side by hitting the units that are not being affected by the Firebark Elders. So nice counterplay there from Gojira to not hit that. Looks like we're going to be getting a Sea Fang also coming down the line here, just cleaning up a whole bunch of Dryads and my Wood Elf Infantry as well, but the Flock of Dooms going off. Of course, this tree build is going to be very sustainable. Frost Breath coming in, hitting Durthu, but not doing the most damage at the end of the day. You can see we're going to be dropping an Earthblood from that Branch Wraith there, and the Berserkers will come in and do a lot of damage initially, but they don't have the greatest sustained fighting ability. So Frostworm is going to come in here, and he will do a lot of damage to Durthu. He's got pretty good armor-piercing values, and of course that magic damage circumvents the physical resistance of the tree-type units. Wulfrik's also in here on his Chariot, so just all kinds of wildness going down here. Looks like a Flaming Sword of Ruin. We also just dropped a Penumbral Pendulum across that front line to try and clear out some of these Marauders as well. Looks like that Frostworm actually causing a little bit of a terror rout with the Wood Elf forces here. Fortunately, those Sisters of Thorn did get caught as well, but the Wild Riders, Hunters of Kurnus, did rally and are trying to catch some of those guys in the back line. But of course, the main part of the battle is here in the center. Wulfrik's taking a lot of damage, though. He stayed in that center fight for too long on his Chariot, and Durthu came in, just laid a whomping on him. Meanwhile, the other Treeman has taken a lot of damage from the Frostworm. The Frostworm's actually would seem like on paper to be a very odd pick in this matchup, considering all the missiles that the Wood Elves can bring to the table, but I actually kind of like it in a weird way, especially if your opponent takes a tree build. It's actually a pretty decent monster, but we are going to be able to wear it down over time. You can see the tree man, though he's very low, his leadership's not quite broken yet, although there are plenty of Norscan troops around. Balance of power is not honestly looking great for us at the moment. Ooh, looks like a potential bombardment spell going down there, but again, that flame resistance doesn't only affect the tree units, it also hits these Winterheart Guard here with their you know, and their basic resistances here. If we go ahead and take a look, the Winterheart Guard, they do get that fire resistance as well from the Firebark Elders, so I don't know if it was that way in Total War Warhammer 1, but that change is very nice. It means that the Firebark Elders are useful not only for tree-type builds, but for any build where you think you're going to be facing a lot of fire damage. But yeah, you can see the Berserkers and the Norscan Ice Wolves, their leadership just not holding up to the sustained power of the tree units here. And finally, with this Ice Frostworm, I was about to call it Ice Worm, I guess it's the same thing, but it is going to get isolated here and taken out, unfortunately, so that has tipped the balance of power in my favor. And oh man, Durthu actually just slapped that thing over straight up, but yeah, and at that, most of these Norscan forces are going to be routing here. Wulfrik himself is getting very, very low, trying not to get caught by the Firebark Elders, but we've got some rallying Dryads getting into combat here with some Marauders. Of course, the Dryads, pretty good DPS unit. They have not the best weapon strength, but they do have Frenzy? They don't even have Frenzy, so decent DPS though. The magic damage does mean that during the later tiers of Enrage on a lot of the Marauder units, they will circumvent that physical resistance, which can be very, very important. You can see just pulling back to the woods here to try and regenerate some extra winds of magic while we rally things a little bit here. Obviously, I get bonuses to my magic regeneration rate from standing in the forest, and I'd rather not lose this second tree man here. So we're going to be dropping some Earthbloods from that branch wraith and trying to give him a little bit of extra HP there, just to keep him until the late game. You can see Ice Wolves trying to come in and clear up these tree men here, and a Flaming Sword of Ruin being dropped, but Durthu's coming in, taking no prisoners, going to start terrifying different things. I forget what that ability is called, Lamentation or something like that. Comes in, hits the Bale Fiend, brings him down to 100 HP, so he's routed off, and at this point, the chain rout is pretty real for the Norskins. A lot of forces being terrified at this point, and yeah, Sea Fang coming down, going to do a little bit of damage to the light elf units. The Winterheart Guard, the few that are in here, are going to take the brunt of that, but won't do much against the Treemen. Wulfrik coming in here like a true hero. Surtha Ek would be proud, but he is going to get stomped out by Durthu and the rest of the tree units here. So, well played to Gojira. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Definitely think that these Firebark Elders make the tree-type builds more viable. And in certain matchups, certainly in matchups where you don't think you'll be facing a lot of armor, the tree-type builds can actually be a pretty surprising counter-meta, because most people are going to be expecting skirmish-type builds from the Wood Elves, but if you pull something like this out, it could potentially surprise them. So, well played to Gojira. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. We are going to jump into another replay here, just because I've got quite a few that I wanted to cast before this early access time period ends, and these replays all get desynced from the live patch. So we're going to jump straight into a second battle here with Heinrich Kemmler versus the Norskins. So should be a very interesting battle. Let's go ahead and take a little look at the army compositions. We've got Heinrich Kemmler. We'll take a look at him in just a moment. In the front line, we've got a mix of skeleton spears and skeleton warriors with Graveguard backing them up. Sternsmen are going to be on this right flank. We've got 2 units of Blood Knights and the Varix Reavers in the rear with a Corpse Cart Unholy Lodestone. For Black Iron's Norscan army, he's got a Marauder Chieftain and the Soul Crusher Mammoths. 3 units of Berserkers, 2 units of Famir Warriors, some Marauder Hunters in the back with a Famir Balefiend Lord of Fire, and the Beasts of Tashnar also in the rear. You can see we're going to be getting the battle going straight underway. Straight off, no remorse, no hesitation. I mean, obviously on Glacial Lake you start out right next to each other, so but yeah, you can see Kemmler summoning up some zombies actually to kind of break up the charge of the Norskins a little bit. And Krell, one thing I didn't quite catch there because it happened so fast, is the Krell summon is now basically instant. So in addition to, if you watch my patch notes video, you will know this, but Kemmler no longer will lose, and in general, summoning abilities that have charges, like summoning zombies, and Krell, of course, will no longer lose their charge when they when they are summoned if the caster gets interrupted. Now, that being said, the summon for Krell is pretty much instant now. Krell himself has had a little bit of a buff here. If we take a look, he's got a plus 20 bonus versus large now, which is awesome. He also degrades a little bit slower, so if you keep him with Kemmler, you can see the degrading is counteracted by Kemmler's constant effects, especially with the Chaos Tomb Blade. He's in melee, he's getting hit by all of these healing effects at the same time. Chaos Tomb Blade, the Unholy Lodestone, and so on, Master of the Dead, and that allows Kemmler, if he stays near Krell, to keep him alive for pretty much the entire duration of the battle, or at least the critical part of the battle. You can see this Mammoth is taking a ton of damage here from the combined might of those Blood Knights and Krell. This other Mammoth, too, is taking quite a bit of damage from these Varix Reavers and such in the front line. Honestly, pretty happy with how the Blood Knights have got a little bit of an AP buff, which I definitely think helps. They're more useful. I wouldn't say that they're wildly competitive, but I definitely think that they're more useful, certainly, than they used to be. And likewise, I think they got a mass buff as well, if I remember right. Just in general, vampires feeling a little bit stronger versus monsters. It seems like you have a few more options rather than just the Terror Geist. Of course, Krell being a true terror in the night, he actually does cause terror. He's going to get in here and up against the Famir. Man, he's like almost tall as that Famir. Look at that. Holy cow. But these Marauder Axemen are actually doing a really good job at targeting down my cavalry. I actually haven't noticed, but the Varix Reavers are pretty much gone, and that is largely due to these Marauder Hunters with the axes here. Because they have this Shield Breaker ability that reduces missile block chance, and they're firing at cavalry. Most cavalry only have bronze shields with a 30% missile block chance. So these Marauder Hunters, I believe it's a 24, yeah, so they're basically going to negate the missile block chance in a large way. And the armor-piercing missiles, you think the Javelins might be better, but the armor-piercing missiles will actually do quite a bit to these Blood Knights. One unit of Blood Knights down, the Varix Reavers are down, and that other unit of Blood Knights taking a ton of burst damage from those throwing axes, so a really nice use of the Marauder throwing axes from Black Iron there. And the Mammoth is going to be consolidating things over on this side, trying to clean up some of these forces. Meanwhile, Kemmler and Krell are doing the same over on this side. We'll get a bromance shot of the two as they fight against these Famir warriors here. And obviously, Krell with his... Oh man, he just downed one right there with his armor-piercing anti-large. He's going to get in here. He also has great combat stats in general. And just, man, I'm super happy they added Krell. I know there's been some controversy about his implementation, but honestly, I think he's super cool. He has a great model, and with the buffs that he's got in this most recent patch, oh man, just downed another Famir. He's just taking those one-eyes there. But anyway, with the buffs, I do think he's going to get a bit better. Kemmler as well. They increased the mass of a lot of infantry lords and heroes. I believe Kemmler and Krell were both recipients of that. So in general, I do think Kemmler is going to be a bit more competitive. It seems weird to say Kemmler and competitive in the same sentence, but especially in a build like this where there's just so much infantry to try and cut through, could potentially be pretty decent. And you can see both Kemmler and Krell have reached their healing caps, and even still, Krell's not really degrading that fast. I mean, he is degrading still, but we should be able to get some good use out of him. You can see those Berserkers have been cleaned up, and at this point, it's pretty much just the Mammoths. Bounce of power starting to creep in my favor a little bit. Looks like a potential flame storm coming down, but unfortunately, the Cernsman had just moved out of range there, so... yeah, at this point, the Marauder Chieftain is giving up the fight. His leadership's just not able to take it. The Famir Balefiend and the Soul Crusher still holding out at this point, but you can see just the undead hordes just writhing and shambling towards the Mammoth. What a cool shot, man, especially in this Arctic glacial lake setting. He's going to come in, just do a huge splash attack, just give tons of zombies and skeletons, but no matter, there are plenty more to take their place. And yeah, at this point, all my cavalry is gone, but we have plenty of Graveguard. Kemmler himself and Krell still relatively healthy, so they're going to be leading their Walking Dead hordes over to this big mammoth here, and we'll just keep it in cinematic mode, kind of ride along with Krell and Kemmler as they get in here. Look at Krell, axe out, all happy. He's having a grand old time hunting down this mammoth in the far north. And man, what a cool battle. have to say, this with all the regiments of renown, the changes and everything, I'm really stoked for the new patch, for it to go live and for y'all to get your hands on it. Queen and the Crone, you know, if you're into the High Elves, Dark Elves, it's definitely well worth it. Even if you're not, I would say it's probably, if you plan on playing those two factions in multiplayer, it's probably still worth it. If you don't plan on playing them in multiplayer and you're not really interested in High Elves and Dark Elves, you know, I understand it's not for everyone, but there is something for everyone in this update, certainly. Lots of old world regiments of renown, the new faction in Norsca, you know, just tons of stuff coming, even buffs and changes to existing stuff, so there's definitely something for everyone in the coming patch, and big thanks to Creative Assembly for giving me early access. It's been an honor to be able to show you guys some of this new content, and I hope you've enjoyed watching it on my channel. I know I've experienced a huge amount of growth over this time period, so welcome to all the new subscribers and viewers. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you'll stick with me as we go through this new patch, because there's going to be so many matchups and so much new stuff to cover. I mean, I was only able to cover so much in this early access time period. There's so much more I wanted to do. I have replays upon replays that I didn't get to cast because there was just, you know, a limited amount of time and all that jazz. But once again, big thanks to Creative Assembly for allowing me into the early access club and letting me show this stuff off to you guys. It's been a ton of fun. I hope you've enjoyed watching. We'll just kind of soak things up as Kemmler and Krell finish things out here. And man, Krell's still going. This is what I mean about his degeneration. He's just barely about to drop from the degeneration. So, I mean, that was a full 6-8 minute battle. And Krell was alive for that entire duration because I kept him near Kemmler. And yeah, was able to definitely put in a decisive amount of work in the battle. So well played, Krell. Well played, Kemmler. Well played to Black Iron, my opponent. And Gojira, of course, my opponent from the game before. I'll have links to both of their channels in the description below, so you guys go show them some love. They'll be showing off a bit of early access content as well, so if there's something maybe you didn't get to see on my channel, maybe you'll get to see on their channel, so be sure to check them out. Oh man, Mammoth's coming back in. Things are looking a little bit dicey, but then all of a sudden, army losses kicks in, and it is victory for the vampires. So, very well played once again to Black Iron. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Yeah, and just quick army breakdown here. I mean, obviously we didn't get to see the work that Krell did in terms of kills, but just the damage on the mammoths in and of itself was enough. Blood Knights also performed better than in previous patches. I definitely think that they're in a little bit of a better place now. We'll have to wait and see kind of how things shake out, but both able to pick up an XP Chevron and get some good work done. Varix Reavers, I might cut these guys in a future build and try and, you know, cut some costs here and there to maybe upgrade to a Blood Knight, but we'll see. I definitely think the Shambling Dead Horde for Kemmler is pretty good with some supporting kind of elite elements. But yeah, for Black Iron, both mammoths racking it up the kills. I mean, obviously the Marauder Berserkers in the front line too. They had plenty of unit models to cut through, and they cut through a lot. It just wasn't quite enough at the end of the day. Both Famir are doing quite well. I think the Famir might be a little bit better to go with great weapons in this matchup to help counter some of the big stompy nasty stuff, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video you'll be notified. Your support means the world to me, and I hope you'll stick with me through the coming year and beyond. Thank you once again, and we'll see you next time.